Good morning everyone. I am Dr. Parmesha, Department of Botany, St. Joseph's University, Bengaluru.
Welcome to the Botany Open Elective course Gardening and Landscaping Technology.
Good afternoon all. Today morning we have started propagation method. We discussed a little bit about reproduction, then natural vegetative propagation and artificial vegetative propagation. Okay, and one or the other way, either for your gardening, or if you have vegetable gardening, or if you have terrace gardening, okay, or if you have vertical gardening, one or the other way, these techniques will help you to do propagation on your own. Okay, no need to depend on anybody. Uh, so now we will move on to artificial vegetative propagation. Artificial vegetative propagation. So we have three types: cutting, layering, and grafting. Okay. So why it is artificial? So these are all human induced. Okay. So we need, I mean, they need help. Or else we have to perform these experiments to grow new plants. But in previous case, we don't need to do anything. Okay, nature itself will take care of that. Plant will produce those propagules, and those propagules will drop off from the plant, and they develop into new plant body. But here we have to do experiment. We have to do on our own. So it's a human induced. Okay, so there are several ways to get a desired offspring, and it's quite we're going to get healthier plants, designed right, rapid and efficient production. So why rapid and efficient? I give example in the morning itself. Suppose there's a one plant, okay, say mango plant or a guava plant. So there's one variety is actually producing very big size fruits, but no, it's not tasty. But another one is giving so tasty fruits, but size is very small. In those cases, you have to graft them. Okay, so together. So then we are going to get new variety. So where you are going to get so bigger fruits and tasty fruits. Okay, so that means desired offspring or desired trait. Okay, so that's called desired offspring and desired trait, and it's quite rapid. Okay, as soon as we grafted them, so maybe next season they will going to sprout and they will going to give within short time fruits. But if you wait for plants to produce seeds and seeds has to germinate and become sap, seedling, sapling, and I mean small tree and big tree, then it has to give fruit. It will take long time. Rather than that, this artificial vegetative propagation they will give away so directly, okay, within short time. Okay, so there are three methods: cutting, layering, and grafting. Okay, we're going to discuss one by one what is cutting, what is layering, and what is grafting. Okay. Yeah, so only within that also we have so many types. Okay, so cutting, root cutting, stem cutting, layering, even in layering, air layering, ground layering, even in grafting we have four types. Okay, so in exam, suppose if you ask artificial vegetative propagation method, you have to write cutting, layering, and grafting. What it is and one example is enough. Okay, so no, if it is a 5 marks question. Okay, if it's a 2 marks question, just whatever is there in this slide, only that much you have to right, if it's a 2 marks question. If it's a 5 marks question, you have to describe cutting, what is layering, what is grafting, and give one example. If it is a 10 marks question, we have to describe all. Okay, so cutting, how many cuttings, what we have to do, and diagram. Layering, what we have to do, and diagram. Grafting, how many types are there, and diagram. Okay, those things we have to give. Okay, so if you learn any one concept, maybe artificial vegetative propagation, you could able to write 2 marks, 5 marks, 10 marks, even 20 marks. Okay, you should learn that much. Okay, so simply don't waste your time for 2 marks writing one page, for 5 marks writing 2 pages. Okay, so for 10 marks only one page, like that. So based on the number of marks allotted for that question, you can expand your answers. Okay, for that you have to understand properly. So yeah, let's start with cutting. Of course, this very old technique. In that cutting, we have a root cutting, stem cutting. In layering, we have a ground layering, air layering. In grafting, with cleft side and bark grafting. Okay, so there are different types of grafting. I don't know, some of you already know all these things, or someone already practicing at home. So definitely, I'm sure you might have done stem cutting. So rose, hibiscus. Okay, so every house at least they will do one or the other thing. Okay, cuttings. Cutting is a method of vegetative propagation. The propagation of plants by planting the cut vegetative parts of the plant called cutting. Okay, so any vegetative part you're going to cut, we're going to sow them and you'll get a new variety that's called cutting. So these plants capable of developing into an entire plant. Okay, so though there is a 3-inch cutting or 6-inch cutting, but that will have capacity to develop into entire plant, because every plant has a totipotency. Even single cell is enough. From that single cell, we can grow entire new plants through tissue culture. Okay, like that here also, one twig is enough to get entire new plants. Okay, entire plant. So that's why so cutting is very, very important. This can be prepared from either from stem or from root. Okay, so in both root and stem will give a new, not entire plant. Okay, so this is cutting method. This is one of the oldest technique. So maybe you can see here. First one is the root cutting. So generally apple, pear, and plum. Okay, so if you plant some of these, okay, you can go for a root cutting, because root cutting will give best result. So root has to be cut. You have to make small segments, 10 to 25 centimeter. We can observe here. So we have collected roots and we made some 10 to 25 centimeter long, and we kept them horizontally in the soil. Okay, so moist sand and water it regularly. Okay, so already, so whatever the media already I taught you in a couple of classes back. Okay, so if you regularly water it, they will give shoots. Then you can transfer this to a pot. So some pot to agriculture land or wherever you want to grow. Okay, so suppose so you want it to on the terrace gardening one or two, you can plant it there. If you multiply, so majority of them, if you have big land, we can plant it in a outdoor garden or in agriculture land. Okay, so this is so one of the easiest technique for root cutting. And another one is stem cutting. So this is very common, okay, especially they use for hibiscus or so rose and other thing. So maybe you try this at home. So definitely it will give result. Okay. So and again is one of the oldest technique and it's a reliable technique. Okay. So they use this for economically important plant. Okay. So I told you to get one plant, we have to wait for a long time for production of fruit, seeds, and other things. Rather than that, we have one bushy plant. We can cut into several pieces. We can make 100 pieces. We can plant them 100. So within short time, all 100 plants will give rise to new plant. Okay. So that's why stem is one of the popular technique in economically important plant. Okay. So we have to cut. So like 3 to 4 or sometimes 6 inch long twigs. Okay. So at least they have to have a node, because through these nodes only the sprouts will come. Okay. The sprouts they germinate through. So this only the new fruits will come somewhere in the nodes. So that's why it has to have okay. So nodes. So then we have to choose this twigs are free of disease. Okay, then we'll get healthier plants. Okay, so then we have to dip it in the rooting medium. Okay, so it's available in the market, oxin. Even I told this when we are doing other plants. Okay, so discussing some plants, climbers, last class. Again, next class also I'm going to do some more plants, so that time also I will mention. But if you remember this, it's easy for me and easy for you to understand. What is rooting medium? So once we cut these twigs, so the lower portion and upper portion, so it has to produce shoots. It has to produce roots also. Once it established good roots, then only it will produce shoots. To produce the roots, we have to give hormone. The phytohormone is called auxin. Okay, that is called rooting medium. The plant hormone will actually trigger enhance producing roots in these twigs. Once it produces twigs, roots, then it's easily it will give rise to shoots. Okay, then we can put it in a poly bag or any tray. Okay, then it will give rise to. Once it produces new plant, then we can transfer this to greenhouse, and from there you can transfer to wherever you want. Okay, so within few days and few weeks, it will give rise to new plant. Within short time, you're going to get either fruits or any other parts will like. Okay, again, it's very easy technique. Again, oxins are available in the market. So without oxin also, you can get okay, from cuttings. But if you put rooting medium, the result is more and it will trigger a little bit faster. Okay, this is about cutting. And next one is a layering. Next one is a layering. So what is layering? Okay, so layering is a method of vegetative propagation in which shoots of parent plant is allowed to develop roots while it is intact with the plant. Okay, so imagine in the previous case we have cut this from the parent plant and we develop them independently. Okay, but in this case, in layering, the plant has to develop roots when it is intact to the parent plant. Okay, so the plant will produce roots there itself when it is in the parent plant only. But here, so they produce once we detach from the parent plant, then we put it a rooting hormone. Okay, so then we are taking care of with watering and other things. So then only it will give roots. But here the plant will produce roots when they are attached to the parent plant itself. Okay. So once it produces roots there itself, then we can detach from the parent plant, then we can grow them into independent. Okay. So this is called layering. Okay. So sometimes you may ask for 2 marks question layering, or else if it is a 5 marks question, so you have to write cutting. What is cutting? Layering, what is layering? And layering, how many types are there? In cutting, how many types are there? And this definition we have to give. Okay. When it's a 5 marks question. And here and there you have to give some rough diagram. Okay. So then after development of enough roots, okay, after development of enough roots, the shoot is detached from the parent plant and plant in the field. Okay. So then there's a ground layering. Ground layering that's based on the position of the layering. There are two types: ground layering and air layering. So of course you know ground is soil, air is above soil. Okay, so because in previous case we studied, okay, aerial modification. So in ground layering itself, we have a simple layering and compound layering. Okay, so we will going to see what it is, simple layering and what is compound layering. So simple ground layering. What is simple ground layering? Okay, by seeing this picture, we can make out. There's a one plant. Okay, and we have bent one twig out of that plant. We made some wound there, and sometimes we can put peg, and sometimes we can put a stone, and we actually insert that into the soil. Okay, so then watering regularly. So gradually, okay, it will produce roots. Then it will become independent. It will produce roots below and roots above. Then you can cut it here. See this diagram. You can cut it here. So this one entire plant you can transfer wherever you want. Okay, so this is simple definition of ground layering. So next is a compound layering. Okay, next is a compound layering. Okay, so what is compound ground layering? Okay, so this is also called as a serpent layering because it looks like a snake. It looks like a snake. So it's just like whatever you have done in the previous case, simple ground layering. In simple ground layering, you will bend at once and make one wound and will put peg or a stone. There it will produce tools. But in compound layering, there are three. Okay, so you can take a long branch, especially clematis and grapes. They will do this because they have a long twigs. So they will bend for long distance, and we can make incision at several places and put pegs or stone at several places and water them regularly. So gradually, wherever you made incision or small wound in the twigs, below ground it will produce roots and above ground it will produce stores. Then you can cut it here. So then you will get a three plants, okay? Three individual plants. You cut it here, here, and here. So then this will become one plant, this will become one plant, and this will become one plant. So then you can shift these plants to wherever you want. Okay, so this is compound ground layering. Okay, so again, this is very easy technique. The only thing you have to make incision and put peg and stone and water it for 2 months. Okay, and you have to choose the plant which is suitable for compound layering. Okay, because some hardy plants you can't do this compound layering. Once you bend, there will be a break. Okay, they will break in this position. So that's why always we have to choose the plants. Okay, so it's kind of climber, okay, or creeper, especially see grapes. So those branches you can take out and you can do layering, ground layering. Okay, so this is about layering, ground layering. Okay, so simple ground layering and compound ground layering. Okay, by seeing this picture itself, it's easy to remember and easy to write. Those are all self-explanatory. Okay, so this is about layering. So then there's one more called air layering. Okay, this is above ground. Okay, so this is above ground, air layering. So then what is air layering? Already I told you, rooting takes place. Okay, see here, these are all layering. This is a guava plant. In many places you can see layering. Okay, so what is this? We will go study in detail. Okay, so the layering itself is the rooting takes place in the aerial part of the plant covering with rooting medium. Okay, so this is also called as rooting. Sometimes we may ask question rooting for 2 marks, or else layering also we can ask. So we have to select the branches like a pencil thickness. Okay, so any plant is possible. Okay, pseudoranthum or any other fruiting trees. Okay, so they made it in guava here, pomegranate, any other. So flower plants you want to grow at home, you can try. Okay, so you have to select and so 30 to 40 centimeter tip of the branch above the branch. Okay, so not just near the ground. You have to above the ground. You have to select some branches. Make 2 to 3 centimeter incision like this. Okay. So sometimes you have to add so lanolin paste and the rooting hormone. Okay. Because from here the roots will develop. No. So that's why I have to put a hormone. Then you have to cover with polythene tube. Okay. You have to cover with polythene cover, and inside you have to put moist sphagnum. Okay, so peat. Okay, so sphagnum peat when I told no. So in the medium, so those medium. Okay, so moist sphagnum, okay, or any planting medium you have to fill inside. Then you cover it. Okay, so tie above and below in the girdle portion. Okay, it's like that. Okay, you made incision like this and you put one polythene bag here and you tied here, you tied there. Inside you filled with the medium. Okay, so planting medium. Okay, so maybe we discuss several, no? Perlite, okay, so vermiculite, some compost or peat moss, cocoa peat, like that. You take some nice medium, okay, so you fill that inside and you tie it in both the side. Okay, so then you keep it just like that. So then after 2 to 3 months, they produce roots here. Okay, they produce roots here. So once they produce roots, okay, you remove this whatever you tied this here, then you cut it here. Okay, so then you cut it here. So then it will become independent plant. Okay, because it has a stems, leaves, and below it has a root. So then you plant it somewhere else, wherever you want. Okay, from in one guava tree, you can make several layering. Okay, so some 10, 20, 15 you can make. So you wait for 2 to 3 months. Then everywhere you will get roots. Then you cut it here. Okay, then these are all become independent plants. Okay, these are all become independent plants. Then you take these plants and you plant it wherever you want. Okay, so then take care of them. In short time, you're going to get many plants. Okay, and all are taste like the parent plant. Okay, the fruits which they produce or the flower which they produce, they are all exactly like parent plant. Okay, that's why. So layering is very popular. Okay, layering is very popular, especially this air layering. Okay, hope you understood what is layering. Okay, so if it is a 10 marks question, we have to describe each and everything. If it is a 5 marks question, just you have to write what is layering, definition, and some types. Okay, you have to describe and some rough diagram of this. Okay, air layering. And next one is a grafting. Of course, grafting is again very popular technique. Okay, so one of the ancient techniques too. So this is a horticultural technique whereby tissues of plants are joined so as to continue their growth together. To get desired variety, this is one of the popular technique where you can use two different varieties. So the upper part of the combined plant is called scion and lower part is called rootstock. Okay, so this is lower part, this is upper part. So this is from one plant, this is from other plant. Okay, so upper one is called scion, lower part is rootstock. Okay, you should remember this. Okay, when you ask grafting, so maybe many people will write joining of two plants. So that's right, but there's a name for that. Upper one is called scion, lower part is called rootstock. Okay, so both are different varieties. Okay, in terms of quality, okay, taste, appearance. Maybe if it is a some rose variety, okay, or carnation variety. So this will produce pink, this will produce white. When we combine, we produce pink, okay, or some striation on that, like that. So taste, color, juice. One will produce more juice, but there is no taste. So, but another one will produce the tasty juice, but there's no color. In those cases, when you combine, it will give rise to the fruits or flowers. I mean, of course, okay, are we, I mean, targeting for fruits? Are we targeting for flowers? Are we targeting for juice? Whatever. Okay. So based on the researcher, you have to decide what you want. Okay. So like that, it will give the end product. So whatever you want, that desired offspring. Okay. So that's why grafting is very popular technique. Okay. So the upper part is young, lower part is rootstock. And always the lower part is younger and upper part is older. Okay. So this one you have to select the younger plant, but this scion you may select from any tree. Some tree is 100 years old, okay, or 50 years old. From there we can select one branch. Okay, so pencil size branch. Then we can make the structure. Okay, maybe we're going to discuss from subsequent slide. The incision you have to make. Then insert that into a younger plant. That's a root stock. Okay. So then you tie them, you water them, you absorb them. Okay, again, grafting is classified into four types. So based on the technique we are using, whip for tongue grafting, cleft grafting, side grafting, and bark grafting. Okay, the name itself indicates. So what is a bark, what is side, what is cleft, what is whip. We will going to discuss one by one. Whip grafting. Okay, whip or tongue grafting. So you can take the upper portion. I told you it's a scion. Lower portion I told you it's a stock, root stock. So there in both the side you have to make tongue-like structure, okay? Because first you have to make one cut, then it has to go back and it has to make two cuts. Okay, see there's a tongue formation in this picture. And here in this picture you can see, so you can make slant structure and you can make a tongue-like structure. Okay, so when we make second cut, it will produce tongue-like structure. Similarly, for lower portion also you have to make complementary cut. Okay, how you made exactly in the top portion, like that even for the root stock also you have to make exactly like that. Then you have to fit both. Okay, upper portion and lower portion, the scion and the root stock. See here, this is the scion, this is root stock. Here also we made one tongue-like structure. For lower portion also we made one tongue-like structure. When we join together, it's called whip or tongue grafting. Okay. So once we join, okay, we have to tie this with a grafting tape. Okay. So there's a grafting tape. We have to tie this grafting tape because so pathogen or any moisture, okay, some external fungal forces, okay, should not enter and so spoil this grafting because it's exposed. Right? Generally, the bark is used to protect from the external environment because since we made wound incision here, so the pathogen should not go, and also it has to firmly fit to root stock and scion. That's why we have to tie this with a grafting tape. Okay, grafting tapes are available in the market. So otherwise also at home, so you can use so polythene sheets, okay, polythene sheets to tie this. Okay, that's also possible. So then there's a cleft grafting. Okay, so the mean we can make this is scion, this is rootstock. We have to make V-shaped structure. Okay, V-shaped structure. So this is also one of the oldest structure. Here, this union of rootstock. This is the lower one is a rootstock, and upper one is a scion. Okay, so scion is a relatively harder because I told you scion can be from any age tree. Okay, this is young to old tree, but always rootstock is a relatively younger. Okay. So we have to collect the branches has to be free from any disease. Okay, and we have to make vertical split V-shaped structure in the scion, and again wedge-shaped structure and V-shaped structure in the rootstock. Here it's a V-shape, here it's a wedge. Okay, so then you have to insert that, okay, inside the plant, and then you have to tie. Okay, we have to tie with the grafting tape. Okay, so sometimes there's a grafting waxes also come. Okay, so just to avoid external pathogen entry. Okay, but even if you put grafting tape, grafting wax, both are fine. So most of the fruiting trees they are using this cleft grafting. Okay, sometimes rather than one, they are going to put two also. Okay, so they are going to take two. There's a bigger tree. For example, there is one tree at home. So that was damaged by something else, maybe because of wind or something, or some upper portion is disease. You then, rather than removing entire tree, what you're going to do, you cut the tree with saw. Okay, the upper portion you can discard. The lower portion, you make it some incision, and you can insert twigs of the same plants or any other plant from the same variety. Okay, some other guava variety. Okay, you can insert and you put wax, or you can tie with this grafting tape. So gradually this will so sprouts and gives rise to two branches. Okay, two branches. That's how you can save the plant which is dying from disease or damage due to any other wind. Okay, and you will get actually good quality fruits also. Okay, so there's also possibility there. Okay, this is about cleft grafting. Okay, hope you remember what is big grafting, what is cleft grafting. So this is cleft grafting and some more picture. Side grafting. Okay, so it's a side grafting. So especially mango and rose, so they are using this side grafting. Here, if you take one plant, on several places you can do grafting. Okay, so that means you will get more chances. Okay, more chances of getting more different varieties of fruits and survival rate. So suppose if I do this, suppose if it is died this upper portion for some other reason, we're going to lose the entire thing. Even here, if one died, at least we'll get one. But here, there are so many like this. Okay, so even one or two dies also because of various reasons. That means they didn't properly attach this parent plant, or some pathogen entered and did something else. Okay, attacked, infested. So there are chances we may get other. Okay, so grafts to be survived. Okay, easy to perform. So you take the rootstock and the side you can make an incision. See, from side it looks like this. So then we can take these from any other plant, desired plant. Okay, so which variety you want? Okay, good quality, good taste, good appearance, good color. Okay, so you take that this cyan and insert that into the rootstock. Okay, rootstock on the side, okay, side of the bark. So just make an incision and you insert that and you tie that. Okay, you tie it. So then, so gradually, so it will develop. Okay, this will resprout. Okay, this will resprout and gives rise to new branch. Okay, new branch. So that branch will bear so new variety of fruits or flowers or whatever we want. Okay, so what we design, what quality we design. This is side grafting. We can do multiple times. Okay, you can do multiple times. So chances of survival of new grafted plants are more here. Okay, so then another one is a graft variety. A graft variety. This is more or like it's like the first what I told. Generally here we use a big cyan. Okay, I told you. So while growing you may damage some tree. So this is some trees are damaged. Sometimes a wind they damage. In those cases, so rather than discarding that entire tree, you can save that by using grafting. Okay, so just you have to choose bark. In other cases, will straight away damage the main central portion. Okay, central portion. Here also central portion. If you damage the central portion, the survivability is relatively less. It will survive, but chances are relatively less compared to this one. Here, you will only damage the bark portion. Okay, it's the bark portion. So the cyan is placed to the rootstock without splitting the bark. Okay, we will not split the bark. Okay, we will not split the bark rather than just for this bark portion. So we'll put and we'll tie. Okay, we'll tie with the grafting tape. Okay, since we are inserted cyan on many places. Okay, so chances are there the survivability and gives rise to new offspring. That means new shoots will develop. They develop new offspring, fruits and seeds. So we'll get the desired variety in terms of taste, color, look, size, juice. Okay, whatever it is. Okay, so this is bark grafting. Okay, so this is fourth type. So I told you if you ask, okay, artificial vegetative propagation for 10 marks, you have to write all these. If it is asked for just 5 marks question, so you have to just there are cutting, layering, and grafting or artificial vegetative propagation, or definition for cutting, definition for layering, definition for grafting. So then you give these are the examples. And so at least one you can tell. Okay, so there's a cyan and root stock is there. You give one diagram, layering at least give one diagram, and cutting. So maybe you give one diagram. That's enough for 5 marks question. Suppose if it's a 2 marks question, artificial vegetative propagation, this you have to mention. So it's artificial vegetative propagation is a type of propagation. It's human induced. Okay, so it is better to get root to the variety. So there are several examples are there. Cutting, layering, grafting are part of artificial vegetative propagation. That's a 2 marks. You should be able to write for 2 marks, for 5 marks, for 10 marks, even for 15 marks. Okay, there's no 15 marks question. Support if it is there, you could able to describe all this. Okay, so this is how you have to prepare. Okay, for your exam also, and also you have to understand. Okay, so what it is and how I can use this for your garden, home garden. Okay, so or any other you have a garden, indoor or outdoor, terrace garden or vertical garden, you can use the same propagation technique to perform, okay, to multiply plants at home. Okay, so then what is the significance of vegetative reproduction? Sometimes the plant do not produce viable seeds. Okay, so you may heard sometimes plant even they produce seeds. If you plant those seeds, seeds may not germinate. In those cases, this is very useful technique because your seeds are not required. And some plants they produce in sexual reproduction. They may not produce proper pollen grains, proper egg. Okay, pistil and pollen. So in those cases, these are all vegetative propagation is actually best method. Okay, in some plants they are unable to produce true to type. Okay, because I told you, so I have seen some guava plant, very tasty fruit it is producing. I want exactly like that new plant I need with the same fruit with the taste. Then this is a good method. Okay, any method you can use, artificial vegetative propagation method you can use, and you can develop that plant and we can get same taste. Okay, so otherwise if that plant will produce through seeds because of genetic recombination, we may lose, okay, the originality of the taste. Okay, so that's why true to type, okay, or clone, okay, we are cloning. It's also called cloning. Okay, it is good to get. Okay, and so it is easy. It is helps us to getting economically important plant having useful characters of two different individuals in a short time. Of course, so within short time we can achieve whatever we want compared to the plant itself is has to produce originally. To produce first it has to develop, it has to mature, it has to become adult tree. So then after that adult tree it has to produce flower, flower has to pollinate, pollination has to be done, then fruit has to be developed. From that fruit seeds has to be developed, the seed has to be germinated, then the germinated seeds has to give rise to seedlings, seedlings to saplings, saplings to tree, then the tree has to produce fruits. It's a long process, but rather than that, if you go for this, okay, any artificial vegetative propagation method, okay, either cutting, layering, or grafting, straight away within short time, you're going to get true to type within short time. Okay, so that's why. So these are all very popular technique in so horticulture and agriculture field. Of course, you can use this for your gardening too. Okay, so hope so. With this, I end my class today. I acknowledge the photographs and information taken from different sources. And also thanks for your interaction, your question during the class.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe the channel for more videos. Thank you.